Year 2 of the Do Action Sports Tour, and tonight it is the BMX Park Finals. It has brought the likes of Ryan Gutler riding high off the heels of a banner year. 2005, this Australian grabbed titles in both dirt and park, and tonight he begins the first step in defending his BMX Park Do Cup title. Our top qualifier, the beautifully volatile, explosive rider, Morgan Wade. He's unpredictable, and his all-or-nothing attitude epitomizes the pure spirit of this sport. And the winningest rider the sport has ever seen. He is redetermined, refocused. We're talking about Dave Mira, and this veteran wants a Do Cup title more than ever.
USA Network presents Year 2 of the Do Action Sports Tour.
An electric night here in Louisville, Kentucky for the Panasonic Open, the first of the 5-city tour known as the Do Action Sports Tour. And the crowd is charged. We have watched all week as these riders have worked their way through qualifiers, including this man, Ryan Nyquist. Battered and bruised. I spoke with him earlier, Kenan, and he said, I got to tell you, mentally I'm not all there. He's been dealing with some wrist injuries, but Ryan's a rider who's never been known to quit.
Definitely not, but you can see his focus is a little bit different. He hurt his left hand on the spine ramp back in his warehouse, so watch him on the spine. Let's see if he's a little bit tentative here tonight.
Oh, no! Caught up something very uncharacteristic. How many backflips can you see Ryan Nyquist do in a run with his eyes closed?
Right, but the difference with that backflip is he's going the opposite direction on the box. Will he try it again? No, he's going to just pass up the box jump.
You can see just on the transfer there, the alley-oop a little off. And to bring everyone up to speed, Ryan Nyquist, if you go back to, say, 2005, a rider that could not be beat. If you talk about dirt or park, just dominated the field. And he's just been a little off his game since last season. You remember the big shocker last year, didn't make the finals in Louisville.
Well, Ryan's now at age big 720. He's at an age where, you know what, he's felt pain before. Prior to that season, last season, he really hadn't gotten hurt. Now we're seeing the reality of what it is to be a professional bike rider.
In a modified format this year, 2 runs, 60 seconds apiece. The highest score will take the title here at the Panasonic Open. So that will be definitely a throwaway run for Ryan Nyquist. Disappointment there. But we've seen riders do poorly early on in the season and able to come back.
Well, let's not forget that this is his first run. Keep your eyes on the back wheel. He hangs up, and that just makes him slip his pedals, get off. He told me earlier he was going to start with that trick, and boy, did he. He also told me he was going to do this one. Double bar spin alley-oop. See, he over-rotates a little bit, but he's able to hold on and get the line going. And here, the truck driver over the box backwards, again, hangs up just a tad, but he's able to get through that trick.
So Ryan Nyquist just beating himself up after that first run, but nonetheless smiles. 83.5, and we were talking about how you can do poorly at one stop and still maintain. Ryan Nyquist didn't even make the finals in Louisville. If we look at the overall standings for 2005, Nyquist was still able to come in 3rd place at the end of the season, but Ryan Gutler, he sat up on top there at the end of the season, and I'll tell you what, a lot of focus is on Gutler, and can he repeat what he did last year? But he's going to have a lot of people to kind of challenge him, in the likes of Scotty Cranmer.
I was just going to drop in on you there, Pat. Scotty looking a little bit less focused. It's weird when I see his eyes, you know. He looks a little bit nervous out here tonight, but tailwind up to step up.
That is a big gap there for Cranmer. And you can see right on that front flip, got a little, just landed flat and was offline.
Scotty and I were talking earlier, and I was asking him, are you going to do anything different from your prelims? Man. And he said, yeah, I am, and we're seeing that right now. Double tailwind 360, front flip over the box backwards. But something important to note with Scotty, his runs start off with all his big tricks, and then he kind of peters out. These days, Pat, you need to have big tricks all the way through.
Well, if you were going to put Scotty, in a nutshell, it's fair to say exuberant, skillful young blood, and sometimes that youth maybe, gets the best of him. Comes out with that frenetic pace, but can't hold it. Likes of Dave Mira. He knows how to go from start to finish. So the first of 2 runs, once again, in the finals. 2 runs, 60 seconds apiece. The highest scoring run will take top honors here tonight in Louisville, Kentucky. Great job by Scotty to come back after faltering earlier on.
Right, and there's a nice view of that double tail whip up the step up. Only rider doing that. And you can see just how high he's got to go and how far he's traveling, all the while whipping the back end of the bike around. So Scotty really did do some pretty amazing tricks in that run, but look for him to improve. Another rider who's riding this course, I'm very excited to see him ride here tonight. Riding so well, Alistair Witt.
That's right, Alistair Witt will be next to drop in as we take care of business here. And Scotty Kramer's first run of 2. You said it's a modified format, only 2 runs each rider gets in the BMX Park Finals. We mentioned that earlier in Scotty's run there was a slight falter, but was able to come back and maintain and keep mentioning it's all about stamina and the endurance of a 5-city tour. We start here in Louisville, go on to Denver for the Right Guard Open, then on to the Vans Invitational, Toyota Challenge in San Jose, and the PlayStation Pro, where it all culminates, and we decide who will reign champion, that coveted Duke Cup. Scotty Kramer would like to take one home at the end of the season. Definitely has the bag of tricks to do so. And there it is, 92.75, the exuberant young blood. Kramer, our leader for the moment. Can it stick?
Gotta tell you, pretty surprised about that score with the amount of just how he ran out of steam and then the slip up on that.
Well, in the sport today, I think the judges normally expect a lot of precision and, the level of what is expected by these riders. Not just technical precision, but having to go big. So Alistair Witten drops in on his first of 2.
Alistair, similar lines to Scotty. He's talking to him right before the contest began. He says, man, this is a fast course. You get real tired. And right here is where he takes a breath on that curved wall ride.
So far, really utilizing those transitions.
Definitely we see him using the box both ways. That's one of his original tricks there. The hand plant we saw Diogo ride earlier in the contest.
And it's something like that, just missing the pedals on a bank. Normally, you'd see some large deductions from that. You're expected to just have a flawless run from start to finish.
Well, you know what? I think they're going to give it to him. Look at the flow. He's all over the course. Judges want to see that big fast plant on top of that sub rail. And a disaster.
Explain the technical aspect of that trick. Maybe not as impressive a backflip, but a subtlety of difficulty.
Well, you're essentially hanging up on your sprocket on purpose, and then you got to pull that whole back wheel just to get back into the tranny. So Alistair Witten, a great run, just the way that he put it all together. He says he loves this course. He said he was having fun out here. He's not the kind of rider that really takes contests too seriously, which is kind of funny because everything he did out here tonight was pretty serious. And he was riding on Tuesday. The riders had about 6 hours of practice. You can see he utilized every hour and every minute on that course. Very comfortable, look back, backflip, nice and smooth as he comes into the landing on that 12-foot long box jump.
Who you at? Alistair Witten winded after his first run of 2, and there's Scotty Kramer. Second place overall last season, but he is sitting on top of the leaderboard for the moment at 92.75. We're talking about just the flow of Alistair Witten's first run. We'll see how it's rewarded. 88.5, so Alistair Witten will look to improve as he is just outside of the top 3 bubble. But still to ride on their first 2 runs, the defending champ, the Australian Ryan Gootler, along with Dave Mira, one of the winningest riders in the sport, and the top qualifier, Morgan Wade. The Do Action Sports Tours Panasonic Open is brought to you by Mountain Dew. Fueled by Mountain Dew. Drink up, throw down. By Vans. Off the wall since '66. By Peanut Chews. Choose something different. And by Panasonic. Proud sponsor of the Do Action Sports Tour. Panasonic. Ideas for life. And there's defending champ Ryan Gutler. We mentioned at the top of the show what a banner 2005 year it was for him. And it all started here in Louisville, Kentucky at the Panasonic Open. The first of 5 stops, got the win there, and then went on to Denver. Front flipped his way to a second win, and then just maintained all the way to the season's end at the culmination in Orlando, where he grabbed the Dew Cup. So you can imagine the anticipation right now of Ryan Gutler. And as we mentioned, an electric atmosphere. And Rob, you're kind of feeling it down on the floor.
Run for the finals. He says he's in perfect position, too. He likes qualifying third. That means he gets to see the rest of the guys' runs that happened before him, but also he knows that Mira and Wade are still after him and have to see him throw down a sick run. So he'd like being in third better than being the #1 qualifier and going last.
You know, I spoke with him earlier, and he said, you know what, Kenan, last year I had no expectations. This year I know what it's like to win. And he said, I quote, "This is mine, you guys battle for it."
Big 3 over the gap for Ryan Gutler on his first of 2 runs, 60-second runs. Top scoring run will take the title here at the Panasonic Open. Oh, beautiful, just flare the way he connects on that. There's some interesting use of the course, Kenan.
Yeah, a little sponsor plug. Now we're seeing as we get to the top of the order, you see how much the riders are getting, how better they're getting at flying on the course. That's the trick that did it for him last year, that front flip. That was the one that helped him. This year, however, more riders have that trick.
So far on this run, Gutler absolutely flawless. And just a touch right there.
But still, the judges aren't going to hurt him. That was a full pull for Ryan Gutler.
And there's the stamina of a season, and there's the stamina of a 60-second run.
Very, very good point. You know, another thing I was talking to Gutler about, he was talking about, hey, look, you know, I'm treating this thing, it is a tour. I don't want to come out here and hurt myself in Louisville because what if I have to sit out 2-3 contests trying to heal? So he's thinking like a champion. He's saying, hey, this is important to me. I want what I had last year. And from the beginning, we turned that step up into a step down. 360, very hard to do. Folks at home, you have got to crank around just to get over that gap. Well, he threw a 360 into it. And the trick I mentioned that really was the trick that helped him out last year, one of the first riders to be doing it in competition along with Scotty Cramner, and that is the front flip. Nowadays, however, that trick is commonplace among many of the riders in the field. And here, the final trick, a flare, linking it up. A slight dab with this 540, but you know what? I think he was counting down the seconds in his head. He got all the way to the end.
Winded, chock full of tricks that run was. And as we mentioned, a 5-city tour. And last year, Ryan Gutler took the win here, then went on to Denver. And this sport of BMX Park, the most separate, different winners compared to the other sports. And Ryan Gutler was, you know, had some stiff competition, was able to maintain 93.75. He matches his highest scoring run in all of BMX Park last year, and that was in Denver. So a new leader, Ryan Gutler, defending champ, with still more riders to go with their first of 2 runs. One of them being Dave Mira. And the question right now, a lot of anticipation was when Dave Mira came out in qualifiers earlier this week in Louisville, was he going to try what he tried in Orlando the last stop, the backflip off the deck?
No, you know, where he is right now on the course, he is not set up for that trick. I think he's going to save that for the second run. But look for it, folks, because it's a doozy.
And we talk about the refocused, redetermined Dave Mira. He has been practicing religiously this year, getting ready for this tour.
We saw that in the prelims, the alley-oop over that gap. And you know what? Pat, right now, Dave is just hitting all the marks. He's sticking to business. I know what he's up to. He wants to get the run underneath him to build his confidence. And this is very similar to his prelim run. He's being smart here. Slight bobble. That's not so disastrous. Remember, we saw Gutler do this, a similar thing. However, Gutler was at the end of the run.
Dave also has the stamina to end with something big.
That's right.
Yeah. And he knows how that leaves an indelible mark on the judges' minds.
Well, you look at a rider like Scotty Kramer, he's pedaling all over this course. Watch Dave. Now, he'll pedal, but they aren't those, as we call BMX racing pedals. He's using these big transitions to generate a lot of that speed. You know where you get that from? Where do you get that from, Pat? Vert riding. Dave's a great vert rider, so he knows how to pump trannies.
60 seconds. Start to finish, Dave Mira. First of two, and I'm going to have to say, he'll probably not just want to, but have to improve on his second run.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny. You can watch Dave Mira, and here we are talking about saying, oh, you know, that was kind of a safety run for Dave, but let's not forget that he did an alley-oop tail whip over a massive gap, and that we're going to watch it. I mean, keep your eyes on him as he spins this bike around. That's alley-oop. He's going backwards. And not only that, but he also did probably the biggest tail whip backflip I've ever seen over the box. So you're talking about a rider that does tricks that other riders do, but nobody can do them as high as Dave does. And that's just so many years of being a vert rider, of being a dedicated bike rider. And here's where we're at. So this is where the tail whip, he slips off, but it's not a disaster. It's not like he went down. He was able to recover, and I think his score is going to reflect that recovery.
I think we all fall victim of Dave setting the standard so high. we want to see those highlight reels. So fortunately, Dave Mira, slight bobble on the first of two 60-second runs.
He's watching eagerly. I mean, he is so competitive with himself.
Our current leader, Ryan Gutler. You talk about Dave being competitive with himself. Ryan Gutler says Dave Mira's biggest competition is himself. He psychs himself out. 91 Dave Mira, third place for the moment. Gutler on top with one more rider to go with his first of two runs. And that would be the top qualifier. I'll tell you what, you never know what you're going to get with Morgan Wade. We say volatile.
Well, you know what, that's his mom, Sally Wade, and she knows what she's going to get, because I spoke with her earlier, and she said she knew he was different from the time he was just about able to walk. He couldn't even walk yet, actually, and he was hanging from a swing set. And she was like, do I get excited about this, or do I relax and just say, what are you doing, Morgan? Well, she relaxed, and now we have one of the most exciting professional bike riders in the business.
Morgan earlier, I mean, he's like a light switch. You called it, Pat. He's either off or on. I said, have you been healthy this year? He said, yeah. I've only been hurt about 4 times so far this year. It's just June. But he's really looking forward to this. And this is one of those all-or-nothing runs. He said he's going to do the same thing pretty much as he did in his qualifier. And if he does that same run, it'll be better than any run we saw last year, a 94.0.
Well, I don't want to get a little macabre here, Robbie, but that's going to hurt him. He's got to stay on the flow. But and also talking with his mom, she said she's snapped off pictures of him while he's unconscious with medical. It's a little bizarre, but she was a gymnast, so she's not afraid to fly either.
When we talk about height on the transfer and just the lines, the areas that Morgan Wade finds himself. And this is what we talk about, the volatility of Morgan Wade. Last year, the same stop, Morgan Wade was hurt in prelims. There was a lot of expectations on him then. He basically imploded and didn't make it to the finals. So I would say with the bobble early on in the run and that, a throwaway run, Mom likes to just see him in one piece.
Well, I spoke with Morgan earlier, and he was saying that, you know what, I want to come out here to win. People think that he's not calculating. It is just the opposite. He really is a calculating rider. He doesn't do anything that he doesn't think he can do or has done. It's just that how he rides, it's so fast, it's so big, that it is. It's a roll of the dice, and he's incredible.
So the current standings, defending champion, Australian Ryan Gutler on top. The second run is still to come with a Panasonic Open continues. So this being the first stop of 5, I'm going to say a lot of speculation. I don't think anticipation could be any much higher, but when you talk about the sport of BMX park, there's a lot of speculation. Who's going to take this this whole thing at the end of it in come Orlando?
I'm going to say it's going to be Ryan Gutler, because he's got the focus. He's thinking like a champ. He wants to play it safe, just get things done, and then explode later on.
I'll say I'll never underestimate just the perseverance of Dave Mira. I think Robbie Floyd's down the floor. He's got some inside of his own.
I think that's wrong, because you stole my pick, Pat, because I was going to say the same thing. Dave Mira, I think he didn't take things seriously as they're flying around over here in practice. Dave didn't take things serious last year coming into this, but he's really trained preparing for the Dew Tour this year, and I think he's coming in full bore, so I think he's the one to look for.
So right now, Ryan Gutler is our leader, hanging on top while we were away. Rider out of Caracas, Venezuela, Daniel. Where did this guy come from, Kenan?
Well, he came from South America, and here at the no-footed can 360 tail whip. I was at Woodward Camp last week watching him practice this in the foam pit. So this just in, kids really do learn in the fluffy blue foam pits. And a double tail whip. Daniel, one to watch as we move forward in the season.
An international affair here in Louisville, Kentucky at the Panasonic Open. And with that run, 92, by virtue of that run, knocked Dave Mira out of the top 3. So Dave Mira outside of the top 3. 22-year-old Josh Harrington, and Ken, for years we've talked about different meccas in the sport. He actually is from Greenville, North Carolina, which is one of those places.
He's officially a native.
I have to say, a lot of people are impressed at the lines he's putting together on this course. Look at the height, the way that he's able to boost on that transfer.
You haven't seen anyone go higher than him on that gap all along. And, ooh, tail whip completely to flat. He knows that one was rough on him.
A naturally effervescent attitude when it comes to his riding. There's always a smile on Josh's face.
He used to play basketball next to the skate park where everyone rode, and one day just wandered a little too close to that park. He was taken under the wing by a rider by the name of Steve Nowak, old-time rider from back in Virginia, and now we have Josh Harrington, professional bicycle freestyle rider.
Are you implying that bike riding is contagious?
I think so. It's a disease. Oh!
Going for that transfer to rail. He's gapping that. That's not just hopping up on the rail.
Yeah, definitely weird how he went onto that rail. Landed with the front peg. You want to land both pegs at the same time, and that's what caused him to get bumped off.
Prior to this run, Josh Harrington was in 5th place, trying to improve upon that.
Well, he's a tall guy, and he likes to do tall airs. How about it? Judges have perfect view of his chain ring on his bicycle. Nice invert, and again, you can just see him click it. There's what the judges get to see when they're sitting in the judging tower, so that's a good 10-foot air.
Great compression, able to ride out of that. This is where it went wrong for him.
Keep your eye on the front wheel. It connects right before the back wheel does. Not good. You want to connect at about the same time, and you saw what happened. Again, the peg hits, but the back tire doesn't quite connect. It rolls along the top of that handrail.
And that's just too fine of a night to dance on. So Josh Harrington, not an improvement as a result of those falls. The best he will be able to do is 5th place with still more riders yet to take their 2nd of 2 runs. And Ryan Nyquist, we were mentioning last year, didn't even make the finals, but overall by the end of the season ended up in 3rd place, and we mentioned he's nursing a couple of injuries, but an unrivaled tenacity. I think it's fair to say you never write off a rider like Ryan Nyquist.
That's what he messed up on the first run. He gets through it. Having a hard time clearing that box, very difficult. He did, however, throw a double bar spin in that backflip. Remember, he's actually riding with 2 injured wrists. They have just healed. Left hand he hurt on the spine, and then he went and hurt himself at TJ Lavin's house. Right? Oh, this is not good for Ryan Nyquist. Very uncharacteristic. I sat down with him earlier. He was mentioning his confidence isn't quite there. And if you verbalize that, it's not the best thing to do right before a contest.
Yeah, guys, you were talking about the injuries. He actually broke that left wrist on March 1st, and then about a month ago, he sprained his right when he says the lack of bike time has really hurt his confidence. He says his strength is about 90%. He says he's strong enough, but he's just still got to get those tricks down to where he left off.
Yeah. Well, to further that, Kenan, when I spoke with him, he said, spine wrap, I'm not even comfortable on the spine, and that's an area that Ryan would normally just dominate. He could do so many variations, and for him to say not to be comfortable on the spine, just says he's not in his zone, but I would not write him off for the, the second, the third, all the way to the fifth stop.
That's the beauty of a tour, is that you do have a little wiggle room, and it is funny. He had a spine ramp in his backyard for so many years, so just hearing Ryan Nyquist not comfortable on his bike is odd. And not only that, Pat, how long have we been up here in the booth watching this guy ride? We've never really seen him make this many mistakes, and not only that, he's really been quite lucky in his career as far as injuries are concerned. And I said it earlier in the show, man, once you start to get hurt, it definitely chips away at your stamina.
So no chance for Ryan Nyquist to improve. He'll look to the second stop. But Ryan Gutler atop the leaderboard, can he hang on? We'll find out. Freedom Hall here in Louisville, Kentucky. It is the Panasonic Open as we wind down with the BMX Park Finals, and our current leader, defending champion no less, Australian Ryan Gutler with a score of 93.75. But still more riders yet to go with their second of two runs, and we talk about the exuberance, the skillful youngblood, Scotty Kramer, 19 years old.
And Scotty was talking to me earlier and says he likes to do all his big tricks right at the beginning of his run because he gets so tired afterwards. And then he told me that he doesn't plan his run. But that doesn't make any sense because he's obviously planning something.
Well, he is only just 1 point behind our current leader, Ryan Gutler, 92.75. Let's see if the improv can come together for Kramer.
Big ball! And that's a huge trick.
And so far, starting with a good flow and a good rhythm, not too rushed, but right there, a mistake over the box, landed too flat.
Actually, yeah, dropping in off that wall pad, he did. He landed too flat. He wanted something over the box backwards.
Question is if he can maintain and then pull out some marquee maneuver right at the end. Can it make up for that missed line over the box?
I don't think so. I mean, you see how he's trying to slow down here a little bit. He's trying to pace himself.
Signature style on the front flip.
Slightly off axis. Yeah. Right now, I don't think this run is good enough to take over the top spot. I think if anything, he'll stay where he is.
So Scotty Kramer trying to improve upon that 92.75. He's just 1 point behind this man, Ryan Gutler, the defending champ. Remember, last year Gutler won at this stop and the second stop of the Do Action Sports Tour.
So I was talking about Scotty, and you like to say he's very frenetic. And he's a hyper guy. He's a lot of fun to hang around with. I actually gave him a ride from the airport to his hotel. He was looking around. But in the beginning of his run is where all this energy takes place. Tail whip, look at this, all the way down to the bottom of the transition. And then he sets himself up to get back up the step up. So a step down tail whip and then a double tail whip going up the step up. But these runs, just trying to jump up that step up, takes so much energy out of you, and that's why we're seeing him calm down towards the middle of his run. And he needs to hold it together, because tricks like the front flip, I tell you what, you need as much power and energy as you can get to get the pump and the rotation for that trick.
A lot of tricks, a lot of fans of Scotty Kramer's. I want to remind everyone, tomorrow you can check out the replays of the final runs and extended coverage on lat34.com. That's LAT34.com. Cool site, and gets behind the scenes here at the Do Action Sports Tour. And Kramer still grabbing some wind there. Kind of I'd say ADD on two wheels.
Wow!
An improvement. We have a new leader. So despite that missed attempt on the box, and now Gutler's in a position.
I honestly think the judges are watching a different contest than I am.
Surprising, even with the missed attempt on that box. So Scotty Kramer, the 19-year-old young rider, and Alistair Witten, currently in 6th place. He has yet to take his second run. So we talk about the shuffling of the top 3 right now. So Kramer on top, followed by Gudler, and the Venezuelan in between Dave Mira. Mira's in 4th, and the Venezuelan rider in 3rd.
Alistair, big 180. That's going to garner him some points that he pulled that off.
You break down just the blind factor of that too, floating and then trying to stick that landing.
Again, that's where he likes to take a breath. All split second of it. He's telling me he wanted to do that look back 360 over it backwards, and he did it over the box backwards. But you see, as he gets into the middle of his run, it's very similar to the first run. The only thing that was different so far was the beginning.
It's the transfer again. And it's interesting when you look at just the different styles and the pace of each rider. Scotty has his pace, Mira has his pace. There's that stall again. Will it be an improvement? He's currently in 6th place with that 88.50. They have to better a 92 just to break into the top 3. So compare that to the first run.
Well, look, I'm a little gun-shy right now because I didn't think Scotty would be sitting at the top of the leaderboard, but I'm going to go with, no, I don't think he's breaking into the top 3 with that run. It was a great flowing run, but there weren't enough big tricks that the judges want. I mean, we didn't see too many of them. There was no front flip, and that's okay. That's just the way he rides, but you kind of need him if you want 1, 2, or 3.
So Alistair Witten, after his second of 2 runs, the youngblood 19-year-old Kramer on top for the moment, but a few more riders are going to have a thing to say about that. The defending champ, Ryan Gudler, along with Dave Mira, just outside of the top 3. And top qualifier, the lover, the fighter, Morgan Wade, their runs right after this. Back to Louisville, Kentucky here at the Panasonic Open is the BMX Park Finals, and we have witnessed some incredible riding and some interesting shuffling on the leaderboard. As you can see, Scotty Kramer, the 19-year-old on top, the defending champ, Ryan Gudler. He has yet to take his second of 2 runs. Remember, 60-second runs. The highest score decides who is going to be champ here tonight. What is going through Gudler's mind right now, Kenan? He has to think, what else can I do? He put together a stellar first run.
Okay, he's staying with his first run, but you know, Pat, to answer your question, I think what's going through his mind is, all right, look, I can get a really good payday here. All I got to do is ride a little bit harder. Forget that chess game I was talking about. Flaring up, same as before.
So, Robbie, you've been down on the floor. You've seen Gudler, a lot of conviction.
Yeah, right there. That's the trick you want to do, the 720. He told me, he said, I did a 360 the first time. He said, if I want to do anything better, it's going to be that 720, and it cost him, though. I was just about to say that.
So Gudler, the winner here last season at the first stop of 5 to Do Action Sports Tour, and with that fall, that pretty much cements
one more rider kind of uncement Scotty Kramer, if that's where you were going.
Yeah.
A very heavy hitter, Dave Mira, coming up here in just a little bit. But the flare transfer, we haven't seen any other rider do that transfer. Gudler nailed it in his first run. That whole first run was just incredible. With the 720, a tough trick. You're taking off a very mellow transition. You see how he's cranking around. He's looking for that landing, but the back wheel comes up a little too short, and it just sends you a little bit over. Again, 720s are difficult on the best day, on the best ramp. Here we are now, a 12-foot platform, and you're going backwards over it. And that's why that 12-foot deck has been playing havoc with some of these riders. It's hard to clear.
So obviously Gudler has to be disappointed. Came in after the first run, was on top of the leaderboard, and 2 more riders yet to go. Both of those riders won a stop last year. Dave Mira won in San Jose, and then Scotty Kramer won at the final stop, PlayStation Pro, and you can see Gudler next to Travis Pastrana, trying to get maybe some Midas touch.
Yeah. Too late now, but you know, it's a lot of celebrities over there. Ryan Sheckler also there, winner from Skateboard Street. and last year's overall winner there. So
we'll see Scotty Kramer, the current leader. See Pastrana taking in some sights of the show. We'll see him tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern on NBC for the FMX Finals. But right now it's all about BMX Park and a refocused, redetermined Dave Mirra. I remember you called me this past fall or spring and told me about the tricks he was working on. Just outside of the top 3 right now, his final run.
Maybe we'll see one of those tricks. No, he's staying with the front right. He was telling me he wanted to do an alley-oop no-handed 540 over that, but obviously not going to be there. That's 720. You see how low he lands. Now, he wasn't going backwards over the box, but it was a very high 7.
I think it's safe to say when Dave Mirra is on over the bar.
Huge. That's a big run. That's anything but typical of that move. That was a Dave Mirra not happy turning this into a cage match. Goes down so hard on that.
And up to that point, things were coming together on that in terms of where he was able to put it together. And you know Dave really well, Ken, and you can
I know Dave well enough to know that I don't want to be near Dave right now.
See the lip bleeding there after the contact with the barrier. Up to that point, you know, the flip whip over the bar. I mean, a very
that's
unique,
what it is. You know what it is? The adrenaline of pulling off a trick that you've never done over such an obstacle. That's where it all just got him so angry, because that was going to push him up, guaranteed. That trick has not been done over a hitching post. This is the one. The 720, so high, he was building a really tremendous run, but again, the problem was, gosh, very frustrating. And here's the flip whip. Look at, it's just incredible. He goes up and over. He veers off and he pulls it. So right now he is excited. I didn't even know what went wrong. Next thing I knew, Dave was just down. Keep your eye on him. He gets scored. Look, there it is. His body is just leaning too far over. And oh. That's why he wears a full face helmet. I can tell you, if he was not wearing a full face, it would have been a lot worse.
He definitely stayed with the ship, though. I mean, wow.
Well, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, that
the reason he stayed with the ship, Pat, is he's stuck. He's stuck in this position. He knows he's in trouble, but sometimes your body just gets locked in on the bike. There was nothing he could do except go along for the ride, and as you can see.
And when Dave Mirra's on, one of the most riveting, I would say the most riveting rider to watch when he connects and he does what he's able to do. And as I mentioned, prior dropping into that run, Dave was in 4th place. There's only one more rider that can adjust the standings, and that's our top qualifier, Morgan Wade. So the best Dave will be able to do would be 5th place if Morgan Wade can push him down. Morgan Wade, top qualifier, but big surprise has to be Scotty Kramer, that 94.5 that he was rewarded. You said you were surprised?
I was a little surprised. Nothing against Scotty. It's just that I really think he's capable of a lot more, and I think the judges really gave him a big gift. So there you have it. Now, I am excited to see this next rider, because he tells me he just likes to go up there and, you know, get the crowd pumped. And I think we're about to get pumped up here.
Well, Morgan Wade has to do what has never been done or was not done last year. He has to better a 94.5. So far, that is the highest score ever to be given in BMX Park, and he starts off strong.
That's a strong entry back into the course. Whopper drop in, or tail whip drop in.
So our last rider to go here in the BMX Park Finals. Can he have 60 seconds of magic?
Well, you know, he's either first or last.
All or nothing. Morgan Wade.
Oh, yeah, we got that. Yeah, he's sticking 2 runs. that he did in the prelims. You know, he said, I really don't have anything else. I'm just going to go faster, Kenan. That's what he's doing.
So far, precise on the lift tricks.
I like what I'm seeing right now, Pat. I like the flow. I think he needs to do a couple, like the bike flip. We know he's got that. We know he's got 720s. He needs a nose. He goes down, play with the crowd.
But that signature stretched out style.
The super win. That is all Morgan. Mom Sally happy he's able to get up.
I'd say good to see Morgan Wade on his 2 feet. At times it's one of those riders you don't know how much he's going to go for it. You say that he's calculating, but sometimes, I mean,
he gives the illusion that he's out of control. It's controlled chaos. How's that sound?
But I think by that merit, I think it's safe to say Scotty Kramer has secured a win. The troubles that Morgan ran into in that run.
Well, earlier on in the run, there were no troubles. Just click look-backs right at the judges. He actually locks eyes with them as he goes over. But it's the end of the run. He likes to lock eyes with everybody. I think he was looking at his girlfriend, Natalie, here. But a little showboating will sometimes cost you in the end. So there he is, smiling at everybody. I like the mustache he's sporting this year, but he does not find the pedals as well as he needs to with that left foot. So he gets a little bit of a rude awakening and eats a little bit of humble deck. Is that what it is?
Well, no, right there, an improvement, 87.25, but not enough to push Dave Mirra down. But that means Scotty Kramer has grabbed his 2nd win ever on the Do Action Sports Tour. We will wrap it all up when we continue with the Panasonic Open here from Louisville, Kentucky, and the BMX Park Finals. What a night. The Do Action Sports Tour's Panasonic Open is brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's forward. Toyota, moving forward. By Mongoose Bicycles. Mongoose, #1 from day one. By PlayStation 2. Live in your world, play in ours. And by MasterCard. There are some things that money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. So the final standings after the first stop of 5 of the Do Action Sports Tour, the Panasonic Open, BMX Park final results, Scotty Kramer on top, followed by Ryan Gugler, and out of Venezuela, Daniel Dares in the 3rd. Dave Mirra just missing the top 3. We send it down to Robbie Floyd, who is with the young 19-year-old.
Yeah, and it took him 5 stops to get his first victory on the Do Tour last year. Congratulations. It didn't take you near as long. How does it feel? First stop, another win.
Feels awesome. I'm so excited. Like, you know, I came here in hopes that I could a second. Again, that's how it usually comes down to. So I'm so excited that I got first. I couldn't believe it.
Were you surprised with that score? That's the highest that we've ever had in the Do Cup. You got 94.5. Great.
I can't even tell you how excited I am. Like, I did so many tricks that I wanted to do, like from the tail drop in to the double whip up to the 360 double whip over the box. I was so excited how it worked out.
He still had some big names to follow him, but he proved that he was best here in Louisville.
Thanks a lot, Robbie. Yeah, some big names. I have to say, some big tricks here tonight. Some new names. Venezuelan Daniel Dares. That's going to stick with me.
Yeah, well, you know what? Scotty fired the first salvo, but I'm sure Ryan Gugler is not going to let the battle end here tonight.
And we always see with the first stop, just foreshadowing of the big tricks and great things still to come on this tour. Second season off to a banging start with BMX Park. Do not forget the Do Action Sports Tour Panasonic Open continues tomorrow on NBC at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific with the FMX Final. Defending champ Kenny Bartram, Travis Pastrana, along with Jeremy Stenberg and others. For Kenan Harkin and Robbie Floyd, I'm Pat Parnell. You have been watching the Do Action Sports Tour on USA.